On today's show, the guys are talking with Lance Solomon, CPO of Promethean, talking all about what Promethean offers to students and teachers. Even though we're wrapping up the end of the school year, looking forward to what's happening next. We got that, much more on the EduTech Guys. You're listening to the EduTech Guys, EduTechGuys.com. Yeah, hello and welcome to the EduTech Guys. I'm David Henderson.
Hey, I'm Bill Bixby.
Bill Bixby.
I'm Jeff Madlock.
Oh, you know my name is Simon.
Simon.
And the things I draw come true.
I don't guess I get that one. Bill Bixby was the Hulk.
I know.
Oh, that's Bionic Man.
Neither of us are working this.
No, Jeff, that's Jurassic Park. No. Hey, listen, check us out on the web, www.edutechguys.com. You can also find us on your social media at EduTechGuys.
Just add us.
Just add us.
That's right.
And, you know, if you follow us, there's a good chance you have a 1 in 17 billion chance of us showing up in your backyard driving Airwolf.
Yes.
Just coming in hot. Actually, if it was Airwolf, you'd hear, you wouldn't hear anything.
That's true. That's right.
Those of you that are, pretty much everybody's going, what is Airwolf?
Airwolf?
Jan Michael Vincent. Wasn't his name? Jan Michael Vincent?
Except I thought it was pronounced Ian. Was it not? Or Jan?
Jan Michael Vincent?
Is that what it was?
Wait, Jan Michael Jan? No.
Yes. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
John Ian Vincent? I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen, we're getting really close to the end of the school year.
You can tell.
And we are losing our minds.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
I'm pretty tired.
I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure the school year has nothing to do with us losing our minds.
No, we lost our minds a long time ago. If you've ever met us, you know we lost our minds.
Yes.
So it's a good thing, though. Hey, you know, I tell you what's interesting. This will come out right before we hit ISTE in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're coming to ISTE in New Orleans, look for these two handsome gentlemen walking around with a sign that says, please talk to us.
Yeah, that won't be us. That'll be the other two guys.
Yeah. We'll be the ones standing behind and going, you dorks.
Yeah.
Throwing stuff at them. I used to take him, just giving them noogies. Just
right. We're going to be the two guys with the handheld mic that we just run up and jam it in your face and go, hey, we're the EduTech Guys. What are you doing at ISTE? You're going to be like, what?
We're the education version of that guy on the street that goes, I'll give you $1 if you can name 4 songs by Blondie. You know, that kind of thing. So,
well, we got to do that kind of thing. How cool would that be?
Would it? Blondie? Nobody knows. Name 4 songs from Blondie.
I have no idea. I don't even know call me.
Okay, you're right. It'd be really cool because then we'd have $1 all the time.
If I had $1 for every time somebody couldn't answer 4 Blondie questions.
Name John Bon Jovi's hairdresser's favorite pet poodle. Now, go.
Fifi.
No, actually, it's Margarita was her name.
Oh, I forgot about Margarita.
She was in the wah 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 video, you know, from Bon Jovi. Yeah, that's what she was. That was actually her. They put it full to the story. As a dog barking, but it came a wah 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 wah. When Richie Sambora used her, stepped on her tail. Wah 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 wah. I've lost it. I think it's become how much I can try to make David laugh and get so outside of the box on this podcast.
We're the EduTech Guys. So far, the only thing that qualifies under any of those words is guys.
Guys! It's educational. I bet you people didn't know that Margarita was the name of her favorite poodle of John Bon Jovi's hairdresser. Don't believe me? Wikipedia.
Wait, let me edit that real quick.
Hey, listen, we're going to take a quick break and go to something a little more serious. No, we're just going to go to something we'd like to talk about something we know something about. And then we'll be right back to have a great conversation. So we'll see you on the other side. Are you using Soundtrap for personal use, recording podcasts, making music, and more? More importantly, are you using Soundtrap in the classroom? Soundtrap for the classroom is amazing, allowing students the ability to create music, podcasts, audio for their projects, and so much more. Check out Soundtrap now at soundtrap.com. Hey, welcome back to the EduTech Guys. We're excited to have our next guest on the show today. We're going to let him tell us who he is and where he's from, what he does, and all that kind of good stuff. So here we go.
Oh, hello. I'm Lance Solomon. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Promethean. Today, me and my team, we look after product design, product strategy, innovation, technology, and development for the entire company. Looking at my background, I've spent a lot of time in high tech. I've gone from building chips at Intel to building networking gear at Cisco to then consumer devices at Logitech, then doing more back office stuff with Amazon Web Services, and here I am at Promethean. So,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, totally. It's been an interesting career. It spanned building, tools that people use to make good decisions using machine learning early in my career to more operational type roles in the middle of the career looking at supply chain and still applying some of those principles, then getting into running product launch and product launch management. And then here I am working on product at Promethean.
Yeah, that awesome. Is very cool. So speaking of that, especially in particular here, I'm kind of curious, well, first of all, it's generally safe to assume, although we won't assume, that most of our listeners know what a Promethean board is. It's an interactive whiteboard. I'm sure you've got a much more marketable term for it, but it allows for all kinds of interactivity in the classroom and or wherever else you happen to want to install one of these. The Promethean has been around for a good while. So I'm kind of curious, what does the process look like in terms of taking something that is, from our perspective, nearly ubiquitous in terms of, kind of interactivity in the classroom, and taking whatever measures to improve on something that is, people are already like, oh, yeah, this is great, this is awesome. Walk through some of that. I know we're jumping deep into this, but I'm very curious what that looks like.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and something we've been working at getting better at Promethean. And so right now, if you look, we're in the middle of developing a number of different products. You mentioned our history. We've been in the market a long time. We have the interactive flat panels, which is what the industry would call it. We've got software that sits on top of it. We've got services that go on top of the software and the hardware. But really, we're developing products all the time, and it starts with what is the customer problem that we want to go solve, or what's the need of the customer? And when we start with the needs, we don't have to go build every need that's out there. Certainly everyone wants their unique thing that works for them, and you can't go chase all of those different iterations of what people want, but you can study your customers, learn what are the things they're solving and what problems are they encountering, and then you can find the ones that go across the most customers and start to focus on those and look to where you can bring, with what you have in your tool chest, a good solution to solve those problems that the customers have. And that's not unique to Promethean. That's, I've seen that design process work at Logitech and other places I've been. Certainly at Amazon, you always hear working backward from the customer. So that it's sort of along the same thread. How do we understand the customer, understand their needs, and turn those into solutions? And those are, new solutions that sit on top of an existing interactive flat panel. Those can be new solutions that we don't even build today. And we're working on all of those.
Well, I have to tell you, we are finishing up next week putting a Promethean board in every one of our classrooms in our school district. So
cool.
That's what we use some of our good money for. And the coolest thing that is when I go into a school afterwards just to check on the teachers and see how the installation's going. Great company that we're using. I'll tell you afterwards, but really great company. Sure. But when I walk over to them and they're like, oh, this is great. It's awesome. It does all this stuff. And I grab the back and we bought the floating mounts. And when I pull it down, no one figures that out on their own. And that is a big seller. When you talk about, seeing what the need is, I promise you that was a need. That was a need with touch displays of any flavor, projector-based or anything, was I can't reach this and I can't get to this and the kid's too high for the kids. It's too low for that one right there. And every time I do it, the teacher is like, oh my gosh, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. That's the greatest part of this is the part that it moves up and down. But I've seen Promethean for a long, long time and I've been watching the development of it. And you're right. It's just continually gotten better, but it's the small things. And it's exactly what, 80% of every teacher at any school district would say, this is what I kind of need. And boom, it's there. So that process, for the educators listening, where's the learning process for your team in that? I mean, how do you pull in that data to develop this? Let them know how you do that. Yeah,
that's another great question. And there's not one single answer. We do multiple things. So one is, you had a couple of my colleagues on the show, I think specifically with Lee County, right? And we have people out in the field, boots on the ground, interacting with customers on a daily basis. So obviously we get a lot of information there. We also commission our own studies. So we like to get people that are Promethean users that aren't necessarily biased, right? Let's get unbiased Promethean users. Let's also get non-Promethean users or non-panel users. Like, let's get that full spectrum of teachers, administrators, whatever the customer we want to study. And so we'll go commission studies on our own. And then there's market research we can go get on our own. There's, we have some choice customers that we like to go in and do specific understanding of maybe looking at their diary through a day and understand what they do through the day. So it's a mixture of all of those that then we pull all that information together and we say, oh, here's all the ones that are common threads across these different things. These are problems no one's solving and are really painful. And if we solve those will really go over well. Here's ones that it looks like customers, teachers, administrators don't even know they have these problems. And if we build something, that would be cool too. Like you mentioned, the vertical movement of the panel on a stand. Right? You don't recognize you have that need because you've just adapted to the world around you. And once you see that solved, you're like, oh my, how did I live without this?
Right.
So it's really, casting as wide as net as possible with the resources we have to get that broadest view and then understand those problems.
I love the fact that, our primary school, 80 classrooms, we're not a big district. We've done 220 boards. So our primary is 80 classrooms, K through 4, under one roof. And we did them first. Here you go, this is going. And we're finishing, this is our last week of school. So it was probably about a month ago. They've been using them for 3 weeks. And I've had more than one educator tell me, I hate to leave because it immediately fit into my workflow better than anything I had before. And so within 3 days, it was just part of the classroom. It just became part of the way I teach. Do you guys, so you worked at Intel, you've done these things, we're wires and pliers guys, we'll just say that. We've done these things in the background before. We've engineered things, we write code, we do that. What's it like when being in education, because you've worked for other companies, but now you're in an educational, pretty much, company. What's it like in those team meetings when you're talking about designing hardware, designing software systems to meet the workflow needs of a second grade teacher in a classroom with 20 kids? What's that like? Because I think the teachers would like to know that, because I think when people know what the process is, they think about their process and then what would be awesome to have added to it or I don't need and things like that.
Yeah. So typically the process will start with, we've got that need, obviously, and let's go brainstorm solutions. And we try to do that with as many people as we can. You pull in sales, marketing, pull in a lot of people and come up with potential solutions. Oftentimes you'll have multiple solutions. And then what we try to do is a fast prototype that we can actually go get in front of teachers, administrators, customers to test it out. Did we solve the problem? Did we create more problems by solving that problem? Because you certainly, right, design's got to be useful. So that means you're not creating more problems than you're solving. And so get that prototype in front of customers, see how it works, learn from there, maybe do a few iterations on that. And then eventually you're like, okay, now I know what I'm building. Let's go start writing code. Let's go start creating hardware prototypes that are real, doing the real costly product development. But you want to go through that iteration process ahead of it, which is making sure you really have understood the problem and that your solution is addressing the problem and not creating other problems is probably the most important thing.
Well, and along those lines, I'm curious to see what your answer to this is. I saw a video clip the other day, and there was a student who was Elon Musk was up on stage with a group of people, and the student said, what are some of the biggest, what are some of the biggest mistakes or failures that you had? And Elon just said, well, we blew up 3 rockets. I mean, but his point being, yes, we made these major oopsies, but we learned from those, and eventually launched a rocket into space. Not to mention, all these satellite internet and blah blah blah. So, what are your, if you, I'd love to hear if you've got an example off the top of your head of kind of like your blew up 3 rockets, something that you were like, we are going down this, we're going to try this, we're going to check this out, we're going to give this, and you develop it and it goes nowhere fast, but causes you to pivot and then you develop something cool after it. Do you have an example of that?
Well, there's one we're working on now, so I have to be a bit vague.
Sure.
And then we'll try to get to a one that's a little more specific.
Yeah, no, tell us more. Tell us more.
We went down. Obviously, everyone knows ActiveInspire. That's our software that we give to customers and when they purchase a panel, and teachers find that really useful. Mm-hmm. And so we thought we had figured out the roadmap for what to do next with ActiveInspire. And we had it. I guess the best way to say it is we thought we were going to make it. Let's call it the hub of the classroom.
Sure.
It's general language. I don't like hubs anyways, but I'm going to use that word hub because hubs scare people. But let's call it something like that. Well, that was a great vision. Well, we actually learned that the problem we should have been solving was something else completely. And so now we're working on a different product that wouldn't replace ActiveInspire, needs to play along with ActiveInspire. But, so that's kind of our version. Now, we didn't really burn the rocket ship, to be fair to your question. In that one, we didn't get very far along. So
sure.
We probably had the engine flare out in the test room versus sending up a rocket and having it explode on us. I'd say, one of the ones again we're working on it is if you look at our current Element series, we spent a lot of time with the menuing system, and the menuing system was infinitely better than what we had before, although people liked what we had before. So there's 2 ways that it's blown up. One is I don't think we navigated necessarily that transition very well, but 2 is we didn't quite understand the problem and we're considering ways to improve it even further. So I think that's probably one that I wouldn't say it completely blew up on us, but we found some benefit in what we did. Some customers like it. Some customers preferred the old one. How can we take both of that and pivot it into something even better? And so that's, as we think about the next generation of the products we're doing, how do we advance that user interface even further? Because it is user interface, and those that are familiar with the panel will know it gives you flexibility in where you are in the panel to engage with it. But it probably gives you too much flexibility, so much that you get a little confused, and then it doesn't give you enough flexibility in some areas. So that's what we learned. And so I think there's there's opportunities there to take a little different spin on solving some of those problems, and then bring back some of the solution we had before, which was also liked by customers.
Well, and that's one of those things that anytime you're dealing with the customer facing interface, I don't care if you're a word processing product, if you're the software that runs on an interactive flat panel, whatever it is, people get used to the way things are laid out and where things are and how things look, and then when you come along and change it, they may not even have liked the way it was before, but it was what they were used to. So when you come along and you move stuff around, I would imagine that raised a few hackles, as they say in our parts of the country.
Well, Windows XP is still king. I don't care anyway. So I have to ask. So we love panel management, and I see that going to be the next iteration, and the next iteration are going to just add more things to it. Right now, it's beautiful. One of the things we were talking about is my sysadmin said, "Man, this is great. This is a great way to handle everything on all of our sites." I said, I promise you, I could see them allowing us to, send the same thing to everyone, stream to every one of them, things like that, probably coming down the road. Is that a possibility? I mean, is that something? Is that network based? Is that it's definitely not the processor on the Promethean, because it can handle that, I guess. So would that ever be something, like if the superintendent had a iPad in front of him and wanted to talk to every classroom through the Promethean board, would that be something you guys would handle, or a part of panel management or the software?
Yeah, well, there's different ways to solve that need, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's obviously apps that kind of do that today.
Sure.
They may or may not work with the panel. We haven't really partnered with anyone to bring it to the panel.
Yeah.
But without sharing too much, we are working on things that, if we're successful in those, easily bolt on to doing what you described.
Cool.
So we see opportunity for how do you, and we hear this a lot from customers, but how do you not always be stuck at the panel? Right.
Well, and that's the biggest thing that I've noticed is that the speed of the processes is so much greater. If you've got your MacBook or whatever up there and you open up annotation, it's no time at all. You're handling business really quick, and going between processes that's what our teachers love. They're like, there's no slowing down. And that's the worst thing. Used to was bandwidth. You're like, I'm going to open this website and let me wait 20 seconds while the whole thing loads in a school district. We've noticed that the processes on it are just screaming as far as we're concerned. They're just really fast. And that's and I think the ones we have 30 gigs on board, maybe 25 gigs, something like that. The teachers have just been super amazing. So I want to ask you about this, and this might be out of your wheelhouse. I don't think it is, but getting different apps, getting different templates, getting different things like that. What's out there for the educators that are listening that don't know about Promethean? Is there a way that they can get that from training, from My Promethean, from the different Promethean sites that you guys have?
Yeah, well, we definitely have learned Promethean as a product.
Yeah.
It's a lot of online resources to help teachers understand how to use our solutions the best. So that's definitely a great resource. There's a lot of knowledge out there on our support site.
Yeah.
Honestly, we take a lot of effort into the support site, and it's not really behind a firewall too much, so you can learn a lot without having to get too far in. And then there's just a lot available. Apps are one thing, but there's a lot of web-based applications you can run on the panels. And then you don't need as much, you don't consume as many of the resources on the panel. If you want the panel resources to be doing, say, I don't know, you're on a video call and you happen to have it on the panel, then you can use the web application, or you can use the web application to do the video call. Right?
Exactly. So, yeah.
There are different ways. I know everyone likes the convenience of apps, but there's also the benefit of more and more people are going to web applications, and panels ship with browsers, and the browsers can run those web applications just as well as they can a little app. And so we like to think of it, how's the best way to solve that problem? And it's not necessarily an app on the panel. Sometimes it's a different way. But yeah, there's lots of resources out there. Learn Promethean, the support site. We have educational consultants that help. Again, you had one of ours, Paul, on one of your previous podcasts.
Yeah, super sharp.
Yeah, so there's lots of resources available to figure out how to do this.
Multi-point touch. I want to jump back into that multi-point touch because that was the first thing when 20 first graders run to the board and they're all drawing houses and stuff and letters and ABCs. That process right there, when you guys first started, when interactive displays and interactive touch panels first started, that was an impossibility, wasn't it? I mean, multi-touch at the front end. So now you guys, I don't remember exactly how many multi-points of touch do you guys have on the Prometheans at this point? Is it 10?
We have 20.
20. That's
20.
it. 20. I don't have that many fingers.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I mean, the technology's advanced, right? You go back to the computer days where it was like, what's your clock speed on your processor? How much cache do you have, right? That stuff almost doesn't matter as much. So there was that huge evolution that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's happened over generation after generation in a fairly short time.
Yeah.
But now we're getting to the point where it's how much incremental do you add? How much does it really add in terms of, again, solving customer problems? We'll figure that out as we talk to customers and decide how much we want to spend there. But if you're putting in 40 points of touch, you're not spending resources or 50 points of touch or 80 points of touch. Like you're not spending resources somewhere else. So, if I was a procurement person, and we are procurement people in Promethean because we have these products we have to design, and we have to decide all the different parts we put in it and what suppliers do we want. If I'm a procurement person, I want to make sure that the people I'm buying the product from are prioritizing the things that mean the most to the business. And so, that's I'm glad you picked up on that because points of touch used to be important. I'm not sure how important it is going forward.
Yeah, it's actually in the grade school level, it's massively important. They love to put 3 or 4 kids up there, writing ABCs and doing math problems and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to see them embrace that, and having never had that, it's really pretty impressive. And as a former band director, I like to take my 5 fingers and draw a staff as quickly as I need to. So
agreed. It's important. The question is, would you ever need 80? Well, that's a lot of kids. Right. That's a lot of kids to fit in a small space in front of.
Well, no, you're just going to have to make 175-inch, walls.
or you make the panel really big. Yeah.
And we laugh about that, but I mean, think of that iteration coming down the road. I mean, if anybody was going to do it, you guys would do it. Here's this entire wall is a touch board. I mean, people would say you don't need that. Well, I've seen this cool things with they're throwing balls at these things on walls, and they're these projectors, and you never know. It might be a perfect thing to do that with, and Xbox and all that. I'm just kidding. So.
There's lots you can think about in the future of the classroom that probably looks a little better than it does today, and then that would open up to 80 points of touch might be a thing that's important. But you gotta spend the resources on getting the 175-inch screen first, and then you go.
You'd be surprised what school districts would do to get 175. It's a lot of car washes and bake sales, but they'd probably figure out a way.
Well, there's a lot of work to do on the development side to make it a reality before we even get that far down the road.
Yeah.
On those sizes.
So I am curious, is there, and sorry to put you on the spot, and you can, of course, you have the complete authority to go, no. But is there anything that you can talk about that is, pretty close to something that is getting ready to get rolled out that it's okay to say, oh yeah, by the way, this is what we got coming.
That one more thing?
Yeah, that kind of one more thing. Do you have anything that's in your pocket you're allowed to pull out of your pocket yet or no?
There's lots coming. I can't talk about anything specific.
Okay. I get that. But that excites me. See, I'm the kind of person that's like, oh boy, it's going to be great. Right. So,
okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I can count the things we have coming between all the things we're working on in more than one hand. So there's lots of things in the pipeline.
That's pretty exciting.
All right. So if our teachers want to find out what's coming down the pike as soon as it is publicly available, what's a good way for folks to reach out to either you or Promethean in general? Share that with us.
Yeah, so obviously our website, it's going to be, when we're launching something, it would show up there probably faster than any other place. Obviously, that's PrometheanWorld.com. We have Twitter, social media as well, at Promethean on Twitter. We're certainly going to announce things fairly fast there. We're always looking to push news, and launching new products is definitely hot news. So those are definitely good methods. And then, engaging us through our partners, they're going to learn about it really fast.
Yeah.
And so, those are probably the best ways. We often talk about things at, shows. We've done it in the past, and those are certainly the ways, but, things can happen off that cycle too. So you definitely want to just count on shows as being a one way to learn about what's going on with Promethean.
Yeah.
Well, Lance, thanks for coming on the show. We hope you had a great time. We hope it didn't, cause you too much worry and strife asking for all the secrets.
That's right.
No, it was a pleasure being here. Thank you both.
Awesome.
Fantastic time talking to you.
Thanks, man.
Hey, thank you so much to Lance from Promethean for joining us here today, talking about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that kind of goes on, really with any product development, but specifically talking about what Promethean does.
The production end of it's amazing, And hearing his background, Promethean really takes this seriously. I mean, Lance Solomon has an amazing background of places he's done and work, and it kind of shows in the Promethean product. If you don't know about the product, check out PrometheanWorld.com and find out about it. Or just go pretty much to any conference in educational tech. You're going to find them there, and it's an amazing piece. As you'll hear as you heard, my district has put them in on every classroom, and it's been a game changer for us. And next year, it's going to be a real game changer because we've got Promethean training. There's so many resources out there, and they're educators first and foremost when they come to show you how to use this. How does this incorporate into the classroom? But Promethean. Check them out on. Online, PrometheanWorld.com, Twitter, Promethean, it's like EduTechGuys at Promethean.
That's right.
At EduTechGuys, you're going to find us out there. So, really, really cool stuff. Hey, you know what we don't have this week?
An EduTech tip of the week.
We don't really have one this week. It's the end of school, so here's my EduTech tip of the week. It's been an interesting couple of years.
It has.
So, have fun with your family. Take off from education for a while. We're not in front of screens for a while. Have a good vacation. Have a good summer. And get your kids ready to come back to school and, give them a big hug and make sure it's a happy time and, come back to school ready to learn because there's going to be so much new technology. We've learned a lot from the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that a lot of schools, and I'm pretty much betting that a lot of schools are going to do some cool PD and going to make some changes in curriculum in the way we're teaching our kids. So there's our tip of the week. I think it's going to be a good time when you come back. And we're not done for the summer. We got a lot of other shows coming out, and I'll apologize before that you have to listen to the banner before we actually have guests on. As you learned at the beginning of this episode.
That's right. That's good. You can skip ahead. Don't skip ahead, but you can.
If you do, I'll be standing at your kitchen window at night in the rain, looking at you with a sign that says, "Why'd you skip ahead?" That's right. Your phone will ring, and I'll go, "I know what you did. You skipped ahead."
I know what you did last podcast.
Do you like to listen to podcasts? Hey, listen, it's been a great show. Hope you have a great day, weekend, night, whatever you've got going on. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm David Henderson.
We'll catch you next time.
You're listening to the EduTech Guys. EduTechGuys.com.